Hi everyone, I'm Christina. Welcome to AISQ Business. Today we are going to talk about footer. A website footer is the section at the bottom of a web page that typically contains important but not intrusive information, such as terms of service, privacy policy, social media icons, copyright information, and other branding elements like a logo or a tagline. And now, let's take a look at some must-have elements for a great footer. Contact information. Visitors should be able to contact you easily. What to include? Physical address if relevant, phone number, and a support or general contact email. Legal pages. Legal requirements such as privacy page and terms of use are mandatory for many websites. They are also important for building trust. You should include a privacy policy, terms and conditions, and cookie policy, if applicable, especially for GDPR compliance. Social media icons. Social media links allow visitors to engage with your brand on other platforms, helping you build your community and increase reach. You should include icons or text in our case, for popular platforms like Facebook, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and so on. Navigation links or secondary links. Not all pages fit in the main navigation menu. The footer can be a great place for secondary or less visited pages. You could include over here pages like FAQ, testimonial, careers, and so on. Call to action button. The footer is a great place to include a final call to action that drives conversions, whether it's to get in touch, sign up for a newsletter, or make a purchase. You could include a newsletter sign up, as you have received on your website, or a promotional call to action, like shop now or get started. Copyright notice. It's a simple but necessary legal element to indicate the ownership of your website's content. And what are some best practices for footer design? Visual simplicity. Don't overclutter the footer. Stick to the most essential elements that users will look for. Grouping and alignment. Group similar items together, for example, contact information or social links or legal pages. Typography. Use legible typography. Footers are often the smaller text on a website, so make sure they are easy to read. Contrast and accessibility. Ensures that the footer has sufficient contrast from the rest of the page, and it's easy to navigate. Responsive design. Make sure your footer design works well on mobile devices. White space. Use white space effectively to prevent the footer from looking cluttered. And now, let's go inside our WordPress website that we have received from AISQ Business and take a look at how we can customize the footer. We are now inside our website. We are already logged in with our admin username and our admin password. So in order to edit our footer that we can see over here, we simply have to go either over here to edit with Elementor and AISQ footer, or by going over here to our website, dashboard, templates, theme builder, and over here to footer, and click over here to edit. Now we can see our footer over here. We can see the structure over here. In case you're not seeing the structure, it's this button over here. We can see that we have a newsletter container, a main footer, and all rights are reserved container. So let's go to newsletter. Over here we can see that it's a heading widget. We have the text over here. We can add a link over here, and we have the HTML tag over here. By going to style, we have the alignment, typography with the global fonts or custom typography like the size, font family, weight, transform if we want to style, decoration, line height, letter spacing, and word spacing. Let's change it to a global font, like so. We could have a text stroke with the size from over here and the color from over here. Let's click on this icon to go back to default. Text shadow with the color from over here and the opacity from over here. Blur from over here, horizontal distance and vertical distance. Let's once again click over here to go back to default. And we also have the blend mode. Okay, let's leave it to normal. Then we have the text color for the normal state and for the hover state, with the global colors from over here or custom one from over here. For the hover state, we also have transition duration, like so. By moving on, over here we have a form widget. We can see the form name over here, the item over here. By simply clicking on an item, we can customize it. We have the type from over here, label, placeholder, we can ask it to be required, and the column width from over here. We can add a new item by clicking over here. We can duplicate one by clicking on this icon, and we can delete one by clicking on this X. We have the input size and to show the label and the required mark if we wanted to. For the buttons, we have the size, the column width, the text for the button. Over here we can have an icon. By clicking over here we can change the icon. We can choose the icon position and the icon spacing. Then we have actions after submit. We have collect submissions and email. By clicking on collect submissions, we can see that we are collecting the user IP and the user agent. So in order to see the collected submissions, we have to go over here, exit to WordPress. I'm going to open this link in a new tab, like so. Then to Elementor and to submissions. And we can see the submissions over here. We can see the email addresses over here and from where the submissions came, from the contact form or from the newsletter form. And we can also see the page, like the contact us page or the home page. And the ID and the submissions date. Now let's go back to our Elementor editor. By clicking on email, we can see that we are sending an email to our own email address with the subject line of new message from our website, and the message has all fields. This means that whenever someone is going to enter their email address over here and click on send, we are going to receive an email, so we know that we have received a new subscriber. For step settings, we have over here some settings. And for additional options, we can click over here in order to customize the messages. For example, the success message if we want to. By clicking over here to style, we have column gap, row gap, label spacing. We do not see the options for the label because we did not let them be visible. By going to field, we have the text color from over here, typography, global fonts or custom ones, background color, global colors or custom ones, border color if you want to have a border, the width from over here, and the radius from over here. Then we have buttons over here, the position, alignment, typography with the global fonts and the custom ones, border type from over here, and colors over here for the normal state and for the hover state. For the hover state, we also have transition duration and an option for an animation, like so. We have border radius and text padding over here. Then we have a divider over here. We can see that we are in the divider widget. Over here we have the style, You can take a look over here to see what you can achieve. We have the width, alignment. From over here, we could have a text element or an icon element. By going to style, we have the color from over here, with the size from over here, gap. For the icon, we have the view. We have the size, padding, primary color and secondary color. We have spacing, rotate, and border radius. By going back to content and choosing a text and going back to style, we have those options for the text, like the color, typography, text stroke, position, and spacing. By moving on, we have multiple containers over here. For the first one, if we want to change the background that we see over here for this container, we simply have to click on the container. By going to style, we can see the color over here. This is a site logo widget. Then we have a text editor widget with an icon list widget. By clicking on an item over here, we can edit it. We can see the text over here with the link over here. By clicking on this wheel, we can open the link in a new window. If we want to duplicate an item, we simply have to click on this icon over here. And if we want to delete it, we can simply click on this X. We can add a new item by clicking over here. By going to style, we have space between, alignment, and we can have a divider. The style of the divider, the weight, height, and the color. By going over here to icon, we have some settings for an icon and some settings for the text, like typography, text shadow, and color for the normal state and for the hover state. Then we have a heading widget, text editor widget, same over here, heading widget. All of those are heading widgets. And we can see that they have the links over here. Then we have another container over here with another heading widget that has a dynamic tag with current date time. By clicking on it, we can customize it. We have date format over here and custom format, and advanced over here with the text before the current date time and after. And over here we have once again an icon list. So let's think back at the must-have elements for a great footer. We should have our contact information, like physical address, we can see it over here, phone number, we can see it over here, support email or general contact email. I do not see it over here, so we could add that information. Let's right click over here, click on duplicate, and we could write support around our website. And let's delete this URL from over here. And now we also have the support email. And we could also have a contact form link. We are not having that because we have the contact us button over here in the menu. Then we would need the legal pages, like the privacy page. We can see over here privacy policy under GDPR law, terms and conditions. We can see the page over here, and we could also have a cookie policy. We then need the social media icons. In our case, we have the social media profiles as a text over here, Facebook and Instagram. And we could also have some navigational links, like secondary links that we do not have in the menu. For example, we could have a link to an FAQ, to a testimonial, to resources, customer service, and so on. We also need a call to action. In our case, we have this form over here, and our call to action would be subscribe to our weekly newsletter. We also need a copyright notice that we can see over here. Copyright, the current year, and all rights reserved. If this was an e-commerce website, we would also have some payment icons. For example, like Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, and so on. Okay, and if we're thinking about the best practices for our footer design, let's first go over here to this icon, history, and go backwards to editing started, like so. We can see that it is not cluttered. It has a lot of white space. It is easy to read the text. It has good contrast and accessibility. And now we have to check if it is responsive. So we have to click over here in order to preview it for a mobile device. Like so. I want a bit more space over here, so let's click on this container, advance, and over here to padding, to top, let's add a bit of padding. We could also click on this arrow in order to preview it a bit better. Like so. When you're happy with your design, you simply have to click over here on publish. Okay, let's go back to the desktop view. In case you do not like the footer that you have just received, it's very simple to change it. You simply have to go over here to Media Library and select a different footer. Let's say that you like this one. Let's click on Insert. And now we have to delete our previous footer by clicking on those axes. Like so. And now the new footer is over here. You can simply customize it. By clicking on each element, you can see what type of widget it is. You have the content, the style, and the advance. You can simply play with those settings in order to see what you can achieve. In case you want to change the image over here, by simply clicking on the image, nothing will happen. So you have to click over here to the container, go to style, and here is the image. So you can change it like so. Over here, by clicking over here, we can see that it's an image widget. In order to have our website image, we can click over here to dynamic tags and choose site logo. We can change the size like so. So let's say that we like this one. We simply have to click over here to publish. And now by opening our website in a new tab, scrolling to the end of the page, we can see that we have a problem with the cache. So let's go over here and purge all. Let's scroll to the end. Let's press Ctrl+Shift F5. And now we can see our footer. We can see that we have a problem over here between the content and our footer. So let's go back to our footer. And over here, let's select the first container. Let's go to Advanced. Let's go to Margin. Let's click on this icon to unlink the values. And let's add 30 pixels, actually 60 pixels of margin at the top. Let's click on Publish. Let's go back to Home. Let's refresh this page. Ctrl+Shift F5. And there we go. We can see the space over here now. And we can see our new footer like so. So it's very simple to change the footer in case you do not like what you have received. So, in conclusion, a great website footer provides essential information, enhances user navigation, and offers opportunity for conversions. Must-have elements include contact information, legal pages, social media links, secondary navigation, clear call to actions. Optional elements like sitemap, payment icons, and trust seals can enhance the footer's functionality, depending on your business needs. Prioritize simplicity and clarity to ensure your footer is helpful and user-friendly, making it an essential part of the overall website experience. So, thank you for tuning in. Stay creative, stay inspired, and keep optimizing your online presence. Until next time.